Okay, so we're getting on 11 o'clock, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome upper year students, welcome Arts and Science. Thank you for joining us today. As you all know, registration is just around the corner. And since this is a process that you only have to do once a year, and some of you going into second year have only done this once before, we thought we'd put together this short refresher session just to make sure that you have all the information that you need to, number one, make registration as smooth as possible, and to walk you through some of the tools you need to help you manage your academics and stay on track to graduate. There's lots of information to cover today, so we are going to get started right away. I hope that we will have time left at the end of the session for a Q&A, but if you do have questions as we go along, please do feel free to type them in the Q&A, and we will get to them as we go through the presentation. So to start, my name is Haley. I manage the Central Academic Advising Service for Arts and Science. And joining me today are my co-presenters, Angie and Matt, our academic advisors here in the faculty office. They're going to present all the information today. I'm just going to be on hand to answer questions. So please feel free to, again, to write in the Q&A as we go. Do want to let everyone know as well that this session is being recorded. So we will post it on our website early next week. Don't feel that you have to rush and take notes. You're welcome to go ahead, look at that recording, pause it, take notes and things like that as you go. So without further ado, I am going to turn things over to Angie so we can get started.
Thanks, Haley. All right, so first let's start with a short review. Maybe we can go to the next slide there, Haley. We're going to review some arts and science terminology. You're going to hear us talk a lot about programs and plans and how many units you need to graduate. So what does that mean exactly? Well, your program is your degree, in your case, Bachelor of Science, Arts, or Computing, and Honors. Your degree plan is what you choose to concentrate in. So for example, biology, geography, life sciences, English, or drama. So your plan can be a major or specialization, or some of you might be in more than one plan if you're pursuing a medial or a major minor combination. Units are like credits. You need 120 units to graduate with your degree. Most one-term courses are 3 units in weight. Most full-year courses are 6 units in weight. Finally, a term is a session or semester. Our academic year is divided into a fall term and a winter term. And we also offer an optional summer term for those who wish to catch up, get ahead, or follow a less traditional schedule or timeline for completing their degree. Okay. All right. So let's do a quick review of the different types of degree program structures we offer. If you're registered in a major degree plan, roughly half of the courses you need to take will go towards your concentration. So 60 units for arts and 72 units for science, with supporting courses generally. The other half of your degree is made up of your elective requirements. For those in a major minor combination, again, about half of the courses you need will go toward your major. About a quarter of your courses, 30 to 48 units, will go toward your minor. The other quarter of your courses are your elective requirements. For those in a medial, you have 2 concentrations. Each concentration represents 42 units, and the remaining 36 units are your elective requirements. And then lastly, for those in a specialization plan, you have a lot of required courses, anywhere from 84 to 108 units. So you need to be particularly careful with registration and plan ahead to make sure you can fit all of your requirements in within your 4 years of study. You will see that you have some room, but not a lot for electives. And next slide. All right, so how many courses each term do you need to take? To graduate in 4 years, you should aim to take 15 units or 5 courses per term each year. If you want to get ahead and you feel that you can handle a heavier load, you can take up to 18 units or 6 courses per term. You're permitted to add 15 units during the registration period, and the extra 6 units can be added on your own during open enrollment starting on August 30th. Do you have to take a full load every term? No, you're actually free to take a reduced load. There's no time for graduation in arts and science, but before you do reduce your load, there could be financial implications. So check first with student awards if you're receiving OSAP, scholarships, or bursaries. International students should check with the QUIC office for any implications on visa. Students in residence will want to check with Res Admissions Office. Varsity athletes should check with your advisor in athletics, and Con Ed students should check with Faculty of Ed. And also any students considering medical school, we advise you to carry a full load every term. If you're adding a full year course to your shopping cart, you've probably noticed that for the first part of the course, the A portion is listed as having no units, while the B portion in the winter term has 6 units. This is because you will not get credit for the course until you've completed the entirety of the course. So not to worry if you see 0 units in the fall term, you'll be given full credit for the course once you complete it in the winter term. All right, running your AAR. What is your AAR? AAR means Academic Advisement Report, and you can find it in Solus and run it yourself. This is the tool that we use in the faculty office to do your degree audit for graduation, so it's the most reliable tool you have to determine what courses you need to graduate. Let's take a closer look. I just want to remind you to always refer to the academic calendar as the authoritative source for degree plan requirements. If ever there's any discrepancy, you'll want to refer to the academic calendar. Here is how you run your AAR in Solus. So you can see the screenshot there on the page. Looking at the top arrow, you'll want to find My Academics. So you're in Solus, you find My Academics, and then you're going to select Academic Requirements from the drop-down menu. And then the bottom red arrow there on the slide, you'll select View Academic Report, View My Advisement Report. And then your report will be generated, and you'll want to remember to look at the 3 yellow tabs at the bottom and click on View Report as PDF. That's the best way to view your requirements. So on the first page of your report, you will see a list of all the courses that you've taken. Here you can see how many more units you need overall to complete your degree. So that's where the arrow is pointing at the remaining units that you need to complete your overall requirements. Okay, and then as you scroll down, you'll see outstanding requirements for your degree plan. So that's highlighted there at the top. In that section on the 3rd line, you can also see your plan GPA. Remember that you need a plan and cumulative GPA of 1.9 in order to graduate. The highlighted line at the bottom of the slide shows you how to figure out how many units of electives are required. To do this, take your total remaining units that were shown at the top of this report on the previous slide and subtract the remaining units in your degree plan. Below, the report will outline all the core and option requirements within your degree plan. If satisfied is indicated, you have met that specific requirement. So you can see that under the B at the top of your slide. You will want to look out for not satisfied. These sections will show you the courses you still need to take. So that's at the bottom arrow. Okay, now that we've reviewed your AAR, you need to figure out which of those courses you should take this year. So how do you do that? This is the general guideline we use for course mapping. If you have taken the required 6 units in first year, plus supporting courses if you are a science student, and you follow this pattern, this should allow you to spread out your requirements evenly over your 4-year program. So you can find the plan that you're in and figure out roughly the recommendation for the courses that you should select this year. Okay, next slide. Some other things to keep in mind, take a look at this list. So remember that core courses take priority, so you'll want to try to fit those in your schedule first, and then your option courses should follow, and then finally use your electives to fill the remaining space. Remember also to look at upper year courses you might like to take so that you're sure that you'll have the prerequisite courses for them. And a reminder as well that many 4th year courses have prerequisites that are tied to the plan GPA, so just be aware of that. Another great tool that you'll find helpful is the academic calendar. You can access this from our Arts and Science homepage or by using the link that you see on the slide here. This is a catalog that contains details for programs, courses, and certificates offered by the Faculty of Arts and Science at Queen's, as well as important university regulations. So there's lots of different things you can find in the calendar. You're going to want to look at the calendar navigation menu on the left side. And then when you click on your selection, you will see on the right side, the details will be listed on the right. So I've highlighted a few things here for you to look at. You can find key dates and deadlines, academic plans, schools, departments. This is where you're going to find outlines for course requirements and for degree plans. And then you can also find information on certificates and the required courses for those. You'll also find on that left navigation menu course descriptions, where you'll be able to click on the entire selection of courses that are offered, and you'll find details about course requirements and prerequisites. And then you'll also be able to find in the calendar all the details about admission regulations, academic regulations, appeal regulations. So these are all the rules, regulations, and procedures for the university. So now that we've covered the tools you need, I will turn things over to Matt to talk about registration.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Angie. All right, so here on the slide, you'll see our timeline for registration this year. Starting up at the top with July 23rd, as you can see, as of the 23rd, the course timetable for next year is now live, and you can do class searches in Solus to see what courses are available and when they're available. Moving forward, August 3rd is the next key date on our list. So this is when you can view your enrollment appointment time and date. So the general rule of thumb with registration is that you want to register as soon as you can once your enrollment time starts, because if you do that, that'll make sure that there's enough space in all the courses that you want to get. And you can also start loading courses into your shopping cart as of August 3rd. So be careful, because if you have any courses in your shopping cart before August 3rd, those will be cleared as of August 3rd. So you'll want to wait until that day before you go in and start loading courses into your shopping cart. So once that's all done, that's sort of our pre-planning phase. Our enrollment appointment times will start as of August 11th. So as you can see on the slide, 11th, 12th, and 13th correspond to 4th year, 3rd year, and 2nd year enrollment times. So we do it in this sort of priority order to ensure that 4th year students who are just about to graduate are able to get all the courses that they need to graduate, as this is obviously their last chance to get all those courses. So if you're in 2nd year, you might have a little bit less of a selection when your time comes along, but don't worry, you can always get on a wait list, and you can always take a course that you might miss out on in 3rd or 4th year. So you have a bit more time to get your requirements. As well, it always helps to keep an eye on courses that might fill up initially, because space can open up right up until that add deadline at the end of September. Okay. So moving on from your enrollment appointment time, August 17th is our pause on registration. So on this day, all registration activity is paused for 24 hours to allow wait lists to run their processes and to ensure that any spaces in courses are filled with people that are on the wait list before anybody else can just jump in. On this day, also all reserves on classes are removed, except for arts and science online courses. So we'll talk a little bit more about reserves on courses later on, so don't worry about that just yet. But for the most part, you will be able to enroll in any course that you want starting on the 18th, which is when that pause day ends. So August 18th at midnight is the day that the reserves are lifted, and as well that registration freeze is lifted. So you'll be able to resume registration activities. This will go up until August 20th, which is our last day of registration before our hiatus, which begins on the 23rd and goes to the 27th. So on this time, there's going to be reduced activities in the Arts and Science office. So we're not going to be offering advising for a week, and there will be a pause on registration activity. On August 30th, this is when open enrollment begins. So the only real difference between this open enrollment and that open enrollment period that began on the 18th is now that students can add up to 18 units per term. So before, the limit would have been 15 units, which is 5 half-year courses. Now you can add up to 18 units per term and up to 6 units of waitlist courses per term. So August 30th, those limits do go up. Finally, classes will start on Tuesday, September 7th. This is also when our Arts and Science Online reserves are lifted, so you can enroll freely in Arts and Science Online courses as long as there's space in them. And then right up until the 20th, you are free to add courses to your schedule. And you are also free to drop courses without financial penalties. So be sure to evaluate your course schedule and make sure that it's finalized before the 20th, because that is the last day to make changes. All right, timetabling 101. So as you might remember from building your timetables in the past, it can be a little bit challenging. It can feel like a puzzle or like you're playing Tetris, as you can see our analogy on the screen. And if things end up being full and you have to take out a tutorial section and rejig everything, it can feel like Jenga when you pull out a block and everything falls apart. So from all of this, I hope your takeaway message is that you need to plan ahead. It's really important to not leave this until your enrollment appointment time starts, and to start your planning now so that you're ready when that time rolls around. So however works for you to plan your schedule, whether it's printing out a sort of grid and using a pencil and an eraser to plan your courses, or using an Excel spreadsheet, make sure that you're planning ahead and putting in your lecture sections and your tutorials and your labs where they fit. So our recommendation, as we said before, is to start with your core courses, and not just starting with core courses, but starting with your lectures as well. So as some of you might remember, there are limited options when it comes to lectures. So there might be 1 section, 2 section, or 3 sections of a lecture, but generally speaking, you don't have as much options when you're fitting in lecture times into your timetable. So start with those and make sure that they all fit. Once those are all put in, then go on to the other components of your courses. So things like labs and tutorials, you'll obviously have a lot more selection with those, as there's a lot of sections running for each course. So it'll be a matter of fitting those in where they fit in your schedule once all your lectures are taken into account. So once all that's added, you'll have something that looks like it worked. But again, you'll want to make sure that there is flexibility there, because it is possible that lectures and tutorials, more so tutorials and labs, but even lectures can fill up. So you want to make sure that you are able to adapt if you need to. Now, especially for students in second year, like we said, you guys are choosing courses on the last day of enrollment appointment time. So you might need a little bit more flexibility in terms of option and elective courses, especially labs and tutorials. But again, like we said, this is so that the upper year students can get priority with spaces. But that being said, you will have a chance to get those courses, whether you're on a wait list or whether it means waiting until 3rd and 4th year. So don't panic just yet if your class is full. And again, it's always important to be prepared with a plan B. So maybe you have a second or third choice of a section that you want to take in terms of a lab and tutorials, so that in the event something is full, you're not scrambling on the day of trying to fit everything in. You have a backup and you know what you'll do if your first choice is full. And we'll just go to the next slide. All right, so now that you've made your schedule and you know what you want to take, we'll get into the technical side of registration. So I'm going to walk you through Solus and show you how you actually physically register in your classes. Okay, so here's a picture of our sort of landing page for MyQueensU and how you access Solus. Now the interface, I think it's been updated since these screenshots were taken, but the general principles are the same. So you should be able to follow along here and see exactly how you want to access Solus and register in your courses. So when you go to the Queen's main page, click on search and sign in and click on MyQueensU. Enter your NetID and password and you'll see a similar screen to the one at the bottom. Access Solus by clicking on the Solus tab on the screen and it should take you to your Student Center. Okay, so here you'll see Student Center. You can click on Student Center on the top navigation bar and it'll take you to that home page that you see at the bottom of the page, at the bottom of the slide beside step 2. On the right side of the screen, you'll see a box that says enrollment appointment. This is where you can go on August 3rd to tell you the earliest time that you can start registering in classes. So again, depending on what year you're in, you'll get an enrollment time on one of those 3 days. All right, so on this screen, like I said, you'll be able to see your enrollment appointment time. Pay close attention to the first date and time, as this is going to be when you're going to want to start enrolling. There will be 2 other dates at the bottom of the page. Don't worry too much about these. These are the same for all students, and these correspond with those open enrollment dates we discussed earlier. All right, so Solus is set up on a term-by-term basis. So anytime you add a class, you're going to start by selecting the term that you want to register for. So that'll be either fall 2021 or winter 2022. For full year classes, you should register for the fall term, and Solus will automatically add you to the winter half of the class as well. This would mean when you're searching, start by going under the fall 2021 search option, And then for part A of the course, you would actually indicate part A when you're searching for that course. So for example, where you can enter the course code, you would say, if you're under psychology, for example, you would select 100A, and that'll pull up all the search results for 100A, which is the fall term portion of a full year course. Part B will be automatically enrolled for you, so you don't need to worry about enrolling in part B for the winter term. All right, so the next step is to add courses to your shopping cart. You can do this with a class number, but I find it easier to use the search function. So you'll click on the search key, set your search criteria. So you'll enter the subject and the course number if you need to narrow it down, and the course career. So pay attention to whether you're using undergraduate or undergraduate online. Most of the courses that you look for will be undergraduate courses, but if you are looking to take an arts and science online course, you'll need to switch the course career to undergraduate online in order to access those courses in the search function. And finally, at the bottom, you'll see there's an option for check for open classes. So make sure that's unchecked if you want to see if a class is full. You might run into some issues where you're looking for a class and you click search and you don't see it there. And that might be because the course is full. So you'll want to make sure that that box is unchecked so you can see all the courses that are being offered. All right, so once you get into the search results and all those courses that you've searched for come up, you'll want to click on the link to the relevant courses lecture section. And on that page, you'll be able to see details like the course description, prerequisites, and the class's remaining capacity. So how many students they're accepting into the course and how much space is left. This will be really useful on registration day when it comes time for your enrollment appointment time, as you'll be able to see how many spaces are left in your course or if the course is full. So on this page, once you get here, you'll click select class. All right, so once you've selected the class, if necessary, you'll be prompted to choose any labs or tutorials that accompany the lecture section. So again, you'll start by choosing the lecture, and when you choose the lecture, you'll be prompted to choose any sort of elements of the course that accompany the lecture, so labs or tutorials. Once you've made the correct selection, you can confirm what you've selected and click next. All right, so now once you've done that, the course, oh, Haley, I think you're a slide ahead. Perfect. Okay, so now that you've added the course to your shopping cart, you should have an option to validate your courses in your shopping cart. So before your enrollment appointment time, I would recommend validating your courses. This will let you know if there's any errors with the selections that you've made. So this is good because it'll allow you to plan ahead. If there's any reason that you're not able to enroll in a course, and we'll talk about errors a little later on, they can be due to a number of things. This will allow you to find out if there are any errors with your planned timetable ahead of time so that you can resolve those errors before it comes time for your enrollment appointment time. So when it actually comes time to enroll in your courses, so once your enrollment appointment time has started, come back to the shopping cart and you'll click proceed to step 2 of 3. Again, confirm all the details of your selection, make sure it's all correct, and then proceed to enroll. At this point, a confirmation or any error messages would be displayed for each course. And we'll just move on to the next slide.
Sorry, my button's stuck.
No worries.
Oh dear. There we go.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so now that all your courses have been added, you can go and look at them in your timetable. So if you go back to your Student Center, there should be an option to look at your timetable. Here, it'll initially show it to you as a list view, so it'll list all the courses that you've chosen. Just a small note here, if you are on any wait lists, this will be where you go to see your position on the wait list, so make a note of that. Otherwise, you can select weekly calendar view at the top to see your schedule in a weekly grid. Take note that some labs or tutorials might not run in the first week, so you might just want to skip ahead a couple weeks to get the full picture of your timetable. All right, so you've tried adding all your courses and you got an error message that seems like it doesn't make any sense to you. So what might have gone wrong? It could be any one of these reasons. So you could be missing a piece. You may have missed a lab or a tutorial or not enrolled in all the sections of the course that you need to. You might also have a time conflict. So you may have chosen 2 courses that conflict with each other. You may also be trying to enroll in a course that has a reserve. So this is a really important one that I think stops a lot of students up. So for example, some departments will put reserves on their courses to ensure that students in that major can actually get into that course. So imagine you're a psych major, for example, and you want to get into a second year politics course. but these courses are reserved for politics majors. So what might happen is that you get an error message that shows that you're not allowed to enroll in the course. This is fine. All this means is that you need to wait for open enrollment to be eligible to enroll in that course. So you'll get an error message that shows that if you're trying to enroll in a class that has a reserve. The other thing is that the class could be full. So this might mean that there is no space in the class at all, but this could also mean that maybe just the lab or tutorial section you've chosen is full and the lecture still has space. So don't panic in that case. You'll just go back and choose a new lab or tutorial section and make sure that it has space, and you should be able to fix that error. And finally, there's a chance that you don't meet the course prerequisites. So this is why pre-planning is so important. You want to make sure that all the courses that you're taking, you have met the prerequisites and you are eligible to enroll in them. All right, and we'll go to the next slide and we'll talk a little bit more about wait lists. So single term classes do all have wait lists on them. So if a course is full or if a course's reserve capacity is met and you're not eligible to enroll in it just yet, the wait list will automatically open up and you'll have the option to put yourself on the wait list. All right, so you can, as I said, view your position on the wait list in the list view of the class schedule. So if you are on a wait list. If space opens up in the class that you're waitlisted for, how are you moved into the waitlist how are you moved off the waitlist and into the class? So this is an automatic process. Students are auto-enrolled from the waitlist into the class by their priority ranking on the waitlist. For example, if a class is full and 3 students drop the class, students in waitlist numbers position 1, 2, and 3 will be auto-enrolled from the waitlist, as long as there are no factors preventing their enrollment. So like I said before, prerequisites or course load limits. The student who was previously ranked number 4 would then move up to number 1 and would be the next student auto-enrolled if another student drops the class. This process continues until the waitlist is empty or the deadline to add a class has occurred, which, as I mentioned, is September 20th. Just a note to be aware of: when you add yourself for a class waitlist, you acknowledge that you may be auto-enrolled and will therefore be responsible for the additional tuition for dropping the class if you no longer wish to take it. So again, be aware that if you add yourself to a waitlist and forget about it, you're going to want to make sure that you're keeping tabs on that. If you get added but you change your mind, you'll want to make sure that you drop that course so you're not charged the tuition for it. Finally, check for any conflicts. You may be on a waitlist, but if the waitlist course conflicts with another class you're registered in, SOLIS won't be able to add it. It'll try, but it'll receive an error and will proceed to the next student on the wait list. So make sure that you're keeping an eye on all the waitlist courses you're on, and that you're making sure that you're not making any conflicts after you've added yourself to the wait list, or you'll just kind of live on the wait list forever. All right, so next we're going to talk a little bit more about class reserves. So I've kind of alluded to this already, but some departments will reserve spots in classes for students enrolled in a specific degree plan. Arts and Science Online also reserves a subset of seats in online courses for distance students. So again, you might be trying to get into an online course that doesn't really pertain to a specific degree plan, but there are reserves on them for online students, so just be aware of that. Online class reserves, again, are registered for distance students with a subset of the seats in the course until the first day of classes. So if you're still getting errors, later into August and even in the beginning of September, that's why. So don't panic. Those reserves will be lifted on the first day of classes. And you do still have the option to sit on the wait list if there is space on the wait list. All right, so that's obviously a lot of info on the technical side of registering and all the little caveats and rules on it. So if you're at all confused at any point, you can find more information and frequently asked questions on our website. All right, the last thing to be aware of is moving forward into the rest of the academic cycle. So as the year goes on, these are a few key dates to keep in mind. As a reminder, this year students will have a full week for fall term break, which should be a nice break for everybody. It is scheduled to start and to coincide with Thanksgiving Monday. So it'll be the week of October 11th to 15th. Moving forward, please take note of the deadline to drop a course. So you have up until week 8 to drop your courses if you should need to. That date will be November 1st for fall term classes. Moving forward, December exams will take place between December 8th and 22nd. You'll get an exam schedule later on in the term in October, but be sure not to make any travel plans or things that might potentially conflict with exams during this timeline. Wait until you get your exam schedule in October to make any plans, but otherwise make sure that you leave yourself free between the 8th and the 22nd. Looking forward into the winter term, you'll have another reading week from February 21st to 25th and another exam period from April 14th to 30th. And then moving forward into next year, this is more for first year students, but if you are looking to change your academic plan, that'll take place in May. So take note of that and make sure that you're aware of all these key dates moving forward for next year. All right, so what happens if you need more help? So from August 9th to 20th, the Student Services Office will run like a call center to assist as many students as quickly as possible during the registration period. We don't offer regular advising appointments during this time or degree quick checks or email advising. Instead, all our staff and advisors will be available to help students by phone. We're also offering Zoom drop-in for questions every Monday to Friday from noon to 1, and you can find the Zoom link to join on the Arts and Science website. Our office and departmental offices will remain physically closed over the summer, but we do remain fully open for business and open to support you guys with whatever questions you might have. If you do have any questions or need help adding courses for your degree plan, please call or email your department directly. Call our office for any other questions. All right, so that concludes the presentation part of today, and we will open it up to questions.
Okay, so I saw a couple of questions coming into the chat. So first question is, where can I find the recording of this webinar today if you would like to go back? We are going to post it on the Arts and Science website, so queensu.ca/artsci, as you can see on the screen. If you click on course registration, we will put all of our resources there in our one-stop shop. So any registration resources you need will be there. How do we know which classes will be in person and which classes will be online? This is probably the #1 question we're getting in our office right now. I actually have some late breaking information for students. So again, as we mentioned earlier in the webinar, when you do a class search in Solus, if you take a look at career and you click on the drop-down menu, this time around, you're actually going to have 3 options. You will have undergraduate. When you click on that, that will give you the offerings of everything we're offering on campus. You can also click on undergraduate online. That will bring up the catalog of courses that are offered through the Arts and Science Online office. So these are all the courses that we traditionally offer as an online offering. We will also, new this year, have a button that's called remote teaching options, and that should give you a list of all the courses that we are offering remotely. So these are courses that we typically offer on campus. This year we have set aside some courses and we've converted them to remote or online classes to accommodate students who cannot come to campus. Those students are being accommodated first. We've reached out, they've declared that they need to be remote, so we are working with them individually. Any spaces left over in our remote sections will be opened up to all students, and you are welcome to add anything that's available and has space remaining. So you'll be able to view them those 3 different ways. Angie posted also some really great resources on the chat that we'd like to direct you to. So if you do run your academic advisement report and you have more questions, there's a really great resource on our website in the link that Angie posted. Talks a little bit about some of the warnings that you might receive. It talks a little bit about some of the nuances of individual AAR. So make sure you take a look at that as well. And then coming from our Q&A, let's review some of those questions. A lot of students had questions about full year classes. So maybe I'll turn it over to you, Matt, to talk about what happens and how you add a full year class. So starting with the fall term and what happens with the winter term half.
Yep, for sure. So when you are adding a full year course, you'll want to add the fall term section first because it will auto enroll you in the winter term. So just as a quick note to be aware of is that the time slots you select for the fall portion will carry over to the winter, and you're not allowed to change the time slot that you're enrolled in for the fall term over to the winter term. So the same lecture section should be carried over to the winter, as well as any labs or tutorials that you register in. They will be the same for the whole year. Now, just be aware that when you're searching in the search function under Solus for a full year course, search under the fall term, and you'll need to make sure that when you search for the course code, you have A in the search code. So like I said before, if you just search Psych 100, nothing will come up. You need to make sure you're searching Psych 100A.
Perfect. Another great question that's come through our Q&A. Can you discuss cross-listed courses? I'm just wondering if you take a course in another department that's considered to be cross-listed, will it count toward your major? So I'm assuming that we are talking about courses that are listed as part of a course list in the degree plan. So what you see on your AAR. Maybe Matt, I'll throw that over to you.
Yep, sounds good. So yeah, when you have a major or a minor, or maybe two medials that have a bit of overlap and the course is cross-listed as a requirement under both, unfortunately, the course will typically not count towards both requirements. So if the course is counted as a core or an option course under your degree plan, it cannot be double counted to 2 degree plans. However, if it's counted as an additional requirement or a supporting requirement, it can be double counted. So something to be aware of. If it is the case that it's a core or an option requirement in one of your degree plans and it's not double counted, you'll want to reach out to the department for your degree plan to find out any alternatives for that course. So you will need to take something to substitute that requirement if it's double counted. It's not sort of just waived, and your department will have more information on what courses might be available to you to substitute it with.
Perfect. And we have a question about what does co-requisite mean? Angie or Matt? Okay, I'll take that
Yeah,
one.
so a co-requisite.
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, Haley, go ahead.
A co-requisite, that's
I was just
right.
going to say Yep. So a co-requisite is just a course that is supposed to be taken with another course. Again, it doesn't always have to be taken. So if, say, you've taken one of the co-requisites before, and then you get to a next course next year that you want to take, but it says the co-requisite is the course you've taken already, that's fine. But generally speaking, you should be taking co-requisites together.
Perfect. And another great question on Solus, some courses say BLN instead of LEC, LEC. What's a blended course? Matt, I'm going to throw that to you as well.
That's a good question. Haley, fill in the blanks if I get this wrong, but a blended course is a course usually that requires a little bit of work from you beforehand, and then you go to the class, and it's sort of, you've sort of done the work for the course, and then you go into the class to work through problems. Am I thinking of a flipped classroom or a blended class?
I think you're talking, well, it could be a flipped class as well, but blended class involves elements of online requirements as well as on campus requirements. So you might have fewer hours that you have to actually attend on campus in a week. You may go to class 2 hours instead of 3 hours per week, but instead you may have an hour of online work. So your instructor could assign some online activities that you have to have completed before you attend a tutorial, so you're prepared to discuss whatever topic was brought up in the online activity. They're very, very neat. They're very interactive, and students really enjoy them. Any other questions? Feel free to type in the Q&A and we're happy to answer. For students who have specific questions about courses required for their degree plan, if it's information that's not covered through the resources on our website, we always recommend that you contact your home department first. Instructors will make decisions about waiving prerequisites. So if you need some flexibility, if you think that you have appropriate background for a course, but you haven't taken the prerequisite, the instructor is the individual you'd go to request a waiving a prerequisite if you think that that's if that makes sense in your particular case. If an instructor waives a prerequisite, they should give you some written permission by email, and you can forward that email either to the department office or to the Arts and Science office, and we can add the class for you. We can override it. Undergraduate chairs and undergrad assistants can give great advice about courses required specifically for your major or for your minor. The Arts and Science office is here. We can help you troubleshoot any technical issues you're coming across. If we happen to hear of common issues that are coming through that we're getting calls about again and again, we will be posting solutions, and we'll be posting updates throughout each week or each day of registration on our Facebook site, on social media. So make sure you're monitoring that. That could answer some of the questions and problems that you might be having. We will also try to post regular updates on our website as things change and as we get more information during registration itself. Jerry has an excellent question about exclusions and what exclusions mean. Angie, do you want to take that question?
Think about that one for a second. I always, this one's a tricky one. So if you've taken, if you have a warning that's an exclusion, it means that you've taken a course that is similar to another course. And so you can't take that course. You're going to have to contact the department. Haley, correct me if I'm wrong, just to find out what other course you can take as a substitution if you have an exclusion.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Very good. Some students will look through the class search. They'll review their degree plan requirements. They'll take a look at their course lists and, you know, the courses that they can choose from as part of their option requirement. And sometimes they won't be able to find a course in Solis. It's important to keep in mind that not every course you see in the calendar is actually offered every year. Course offerings depend a lot on instructor availability, depends a lot on budget, depends a lot on curriculum and changes that the department is making at their end. So it is possible that the course is not currently being offered. If it's a course that you absolutely need and you'd like to know when it's going to be offered again, or you need to know what you could take in its place, you're best to contact the department directly for that information.
Haley, I also added another link in the chat there about some helpful information that can be found on the OUR website for Solis, and lots of tips for how to do things in Solis.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, they have videos, they've got screenshots, lots of help if students need help navigating Solis. Thanks for that, Angie. Another common question we get is, where can I find out more information about the course itself? What about the syllabus? As you might remember from first year or from second year, if you're an upper year, third or fourth year student, instructors are working on their syllabi right now. They will typically post them through OnCue during the first week of classes. So you'll be able to access all those details when your class actually begins. I think one of the most common questions we hear during registration year over year is, I'm on a wait list. I see the green circle. I see space open. Why can't I add this class? Why am I not coming off the wait list? Again, as Matt mentioned earlier, it's likely because you have a timetable conflict. If you're enrolled in a class that's offered at the same time, the waitlist engine will continue to run. I think it runs every 20 minutes. So it will see your name on the wait list. It will try to add you, but if it comes against an error, or if it runs into a problem, it will produce an error report in the background and it will move on to the next student, and it'll try again during the next time it runs. So you could be sitting at the top of the wait list forever if that conflict is not resolved. The other issue is it's probably an online class, and those courses are being reserved for online students until the first day of classes. So sometimes you'll see open space. We have to hold those spaces aside for our distance students because they are studying exclusively online and they have limited choices to pick from. So we've promised those students that we will hold those spaces, set them aside until the first day of classes. And that's when we reserve or remove those reserves, and the waitlist engine will continue to run, and we will take all of our other students from the wait list at that time. Another question about the degree plan. Can one course be used in both the major or the minor? So Matt addressed that question earlier about overlap. If the course is a core course or an option course, for both plans, it cannot be double counted. You'll need to find another course to use in its place. If the course is supporting course in one of the degree plans, it can be double counted. We've got a few more minutes here. We have another question. Could you please return to the slide that shows you how you can see how many students are enrolled in a class? So I think that was in one of the screenshots from registration. I can try to move through. I think, is this it, Matt?
I'm just scrolling through the PowerPoint trying to find it. I believe it is slide. Give me one sec
Maybe
here.
it's one before. No. A
little bit earlier than that. Oh, it's slide 24.
Tell me when I'm there.
Step 7. Back.
Right here?
Back. Yeah, right there. So the bottom frame.
Okay. Hopefully, hope that helps.
Yeah, so when you go into your search results and you click on the link to the section, as you can see in step 6, you'll get to the page for that section, and you can see there's a tab called class availability, and it shows you class capacity and enrollment total, which is how many people have enrolled in it, and then available seats.
Yep. Another helpful feature that a lot of students appreciate is when they take a look at their class schedule, not on the weekly calendar view, but just the list view. It will actually tell you where you're at on a wait list. If you're on a wait list, it'll tell you what position you're in, which is sometimes handy to know, especially if it's getting close to the end of the add drop period and you want to know what your chances are of getting in the class. That's sometimes helpful to know in terms of making decisions. I'm going to throw this question to you, Matt, because you have the most experience adding courses from the student side of Solace. So this question is, do you have to enroll in each class, lecture, lab, tutorial individually, or when you click on it, the enroll button, does Solace enroll you in all 5 courses and all the related components all at once?
I think you cut out for a little bit there, but if I get the sense of the question, basically what will happen is when you go to enroll in a lecture section, it'll prompt you to select a corresponding lab or tutorial that goes along with that course. So when you enroll for one course, it'll again prompt you to enroll in any related sections.
In my understanding, Matt, is if you have all of your courses and all the components loaded in your shopping cart and you proceed through the steps, that it will add them all at the same time and you get a summary with green check marks if your submission was successful.
Yes, that's accurate.
And if any of the courses that didn't go through correctly, you'll get a red X and it'll give you an error message. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so. So that's when you add it to your shopping cart, you'll get to like choose them all together. And then once they're in your shopping cart, you just enroll and it'll do it all together.
Perfect. So I'm not seeing any other questions coming in at the moment. We'll continue to monitor the Q&A. But again, registration officially starts on Monday. For those of you that do have more questions after today's session, we are running a Zoom drop-in. So this is just a Q&A. Students can drop in using the invite link. We've sent that information through the student newsletter, so you'll be able to access it there. We'll also post the Zoom link to join online. This is a drop-in, so we'll see one student at a time for quick questions. So next Friday, August 6th from 2 to 4 p.m., you're welcome to drop in and we will give you a hand at that time. We will also be running a daily Zoom drop-in, again, just for quick questions, first come, first serve, from noon to 1 every day during registration from August 9th to the 20th. And we will also be circulating the link to join those sessions as well. So If you do have quick questions, please do join us there and we'd be happy to give you a hand. So I'm not seeing any other questions coming in the Q&A, so I think we will leave it there. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us today. Good luck with registration. We hope it goes smoothly, and we hope that these resources have been helpful. Again, our website contains a lot of different tools, videos, other webinars that you're very welcome to watch. So please do check them out and come and connect with us on Zoom. Take care, everyone, and we will see you all in September.